Welcome to the Big Life Podcast, where dreams aren't just imagined, they're built brick by brick, belief by belief. Hosted by Neal Oates Jr. and RLewis, this show is your invitation to discover your amazing capabilities, invest in your growth, and unleash your potential in ways you've only dreamed of. Join Neal and Robin as they dive deep into stories, insights, and tools designed to inspire you to show up big, live intentionally, and give yourself away for the betterment of those around you. Get ready to rise to what you're truly worthy of. The Big Life starts now.
Welcome to the Big Life Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Neal Oates Jr. with Mr. RLewis. Robin, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, Neal, I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate your flexibility today, man. You're doing well.
So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, Robin is saying that because I have been fighting with my tech. I've been fighting with home appliances, with air conditioning, and you've got to have a guy like RLewis, a person like RLewis in your camp to encourage you when everything but the easy thing is happening. Now, I'm not going to say the wrong thing is happening, but when everything but the easy thing is happening. So Robin, I appreciate you, sir.
Yes, sir. And you, man, you're a great example. You know, like one of the things that you and I talk about all the time is that we are practitioners. And so, man, you are living it out today, brother. You have every reason that we could say, hey, you know what? Let's not do the big life today. But here you are and here we are. And it's just a great example of, you do it regardless, man.
Robin,
And
so hold on. You mentioned
circumstances are going to happen. Things are going to get in our way, but we get the opportunity to choose how we respond. And you're responding in such a positive way today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate being here with you, brother. I believe that this is going to be an awesome episode for our listeners to kind of tune in. Also, they have no idea what's going on. I do. You and I do. But they can just understand that what's happening today is representing that we have challenges, we have difficulty, but we're going to move through. We get to choose how we respond. So
really quickly, Robin. So even before we get into the episode, before we hit the record button on this episode of the podcast, we were talking about my mangoes and the mango tree in the backyard.
Yes,
and the
sir.
abundance and the overflow of this orange gold, as people call it. And I have been complaining, and the realization that we came to is that I have been complaining about a blessing, right? The inconvenience of having the mangoes and having to peel. And I'm talking about, I'm going to go on the verge of saying upward to almost 1,000 mangoes during the mango season. But you helped me put that back in perspective, because one of your mango trees, you said you might be fortunate if you got 9 single digit.
Yeah,
one less than 10.
This year was terrible. And not only that, but the tree blossomed. The blossoms were golden looking. I was so excited about the possibilities that I took a picture of it. I have a picture of it in my camera full with blossoms. And out of all of those blossoms, which probably could have been 1,000 easily, I only got. Hey, listen, you know why I'm laughing? When you can count the number of mangoes that you have on your tree, you do not have a good crop, man. So yeah.
Robin, here's why this is so important, right? Because of the topic that we're going to talk about today, right? I have been, and here's what's wild, I have been guilty of what we're going to talk about. I have been guilty of, here recently in real life, looking forward to the day when the last mango falls off the tree. Right. And it's never been today. It's always been tomorrow or tomorrow or tomorrow. And that's why I dove in, and this little book here, a small book by John C. Maxwell, Make Today Count, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to have some conversation about making today count. What are some of the challenges for us making today count? Why is our focus future forward? Why do we value the future more than the present? So Robin, let's jump into it. When I say make today count, when you read Make Today Count, and when you see this, what comes to your mind, sir?
Yeah, I think it's very easy for us to lose sight of the power, the potential in today, and really focusing on, I love the way Dennis Waitley put it, focusing on the being present in the only space of time over which we have any control. And that is now, that is today. And a lot of times we very easily put things off, or sometimes we get being busy, but we might not be moving forward what matters the most. So we occupy our time with the wrong things, a lot of times the busyness of life. And so I think it's a valuable lesson. It's one of those lessons, Neal, that I would say, in fact, I think I've shared this with you before, that when I look back at my life, the younger version of myself, this is one of the subjects that I would want to teach the younger version of myself. If I could have gotten hold of this sooner in my life, it would have helped me. And I don't want to sound like I'm regretting, because I'm not regretting, right? Life happens and you learn as you go along. There are other areas of my life where I've grown, but this is one of those areas of my life where when I look back, I realize how much more I could have been effective. So I think it's a very valuable concept that we're sharing with our listeners today that I would want to teach to my kids.
And here's what I think about now as I even look at Make Today Count. And then I think about my worries about tomorrow or my complaints about the past, right? You mentioned that now is the only time, like this is the only time that we are given, right? It will never not be right now. It will never not be today. Right. And so that's a reality. But what about us getting stuck and then us as achievers, as leaders, as listeners and watchers of the Big Life podcast, where, yes, we're ambitious. So we're chasing the thing of tomorrow. We're trying to put one hand on the future while maybe holding on to yesterday and never really presently enjoying this thing that we have here now. So, Robin, I know that we often think about, what am I going to do tomorrow? How do we take advantage of the opportunities tomorrow? What's out ahead of us? But let's start with what has already occurred, if we may. What can we do, or how? And I'm coming to you from the viewpoint of someone who coaches, who speaks, who trains high level leaders. What's a detriment or something that is a challenge for us to let go of yesterday so that we can even be present with today, Robin?
So let me make sure I understand it. What causes us to hold on to yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. So that just the fact that we hold on, that's why I wanted to just get clarity. That alone is a problem, right? Is that we hold on to yesterday, right? We get focused too much on yesterday. And I think some of those things are mess ups, right? We get caught up in thinking about the stuff where we didn't do that well. Clearly, that's one. And another clear one, and it falls along the line of what John teaches about Make Today Count, is our successes as well.
Yeah.
Clearly, we can also get so focused on our wins that we go around just thinking about the wins, and and then we might lose a day or two because we're so high in the wins, or we might lose a day or two because we're so low in the losses.
Robin, on that, I often think about my story. Now, most of the time we hear about the good old days, right? And we, as human beings, we're such good salespeople that we can romanticize anything. We can always think of, and we always think about the athlete, man, when I was, here's what I did, right? I remember when. But if we aren't careful, we can lie to ourselves. And then that removes some of that pressure, right? That removes some of that responsibility of doing the thing today. Right? Because we can either look back and say, here's what yesterday was, or here's what tomorrow is going to be. But when we look at today, it forces us to really take this honest look at ourselves and say, I'm right here. Do we like where we are, or do we not? Because the things we did yesterday they have led us to today, or in previous times, actions and decisions. So here's where I want to go. One of the things that, and everyone doesn't know this, but the danger of thinking I still have time, right? And so that's one thing, and I call it arrogance, right? So one thing growing up in Alabama, people would say, if it's the Lord's will, I'll make it to tomorrow. And I was like, come on, ladies and gentlemen, come on, mom and dad. And the saying, here today, gone tomorrow. But then my dad, he changed that for me. He said, here today, gone this evening. right? Here today, gone today. And after having experienced a life threatening or life ending event where I flatline and then I'm brought back, the dangers of thinking I still have time, I found myself on the giving and receiving end of that. And I realized that guess what I was not doing, Robin? I was not making today count. I was thinking I'm going to be great when the circumstances, when the money, when the relationships, when the health in the future. And part of that is a big reason why today, with the chaos and the confusion swirling around me and my current environment and just some little inconveniences, I have to make the conscious decision to make today count. So one of those is just the dangers of thinking I still have time. Would you share how you've seen people think, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I have time. The timing isn't right. And I know that we are men of contemplation, but we're also men of action as well. So would you share a little bit on that, Robin?
Sir, I think of it, I just heard this a few days ago in regards to our purpose. Like, the parable of the talent, right? And the idea here is that this great king had some resources that he left with these three of his team members. And, the long story short is that two of them went out and did something with those resources and multiplied it. And, the third person didn't do much with it at all. In fact, how the story goes is that he actually just kind of put it in safekeeping. He buried it. He just kind of kept it there in safekeeping. And when the king returned, he was happy with the two that did something with the resources that he had left him with, and he was disappointed with the third person that just kind of buried it, didn't do anything with it. And the challenge to us is that life is going to come to an end. And our calling, our purpose. Now, Neal, you and I believe this. I believe every one of us was created with purpose, on purpose,
Right.
with a purpose, right? On purpose, with a purpose. You know your purpose. I know my purpose. We help people to find, discover what their purpose is. And what the challenge was, and it hit me. The challenge is that I think I have time, still have time to live out my purpose. And the sense of urgency that should be there is not necessarily there because I think that I have tomorrow. And so I think that's the large one, Neal. When it comes to our purpose, it's very easy for us to not recognize that the master is coming back and it could be tomorrow, could be today. And what will he find when he comes back in regards to what I have done with the resources, the purpose, the influence, the relationships, the stuff that he has left with me. So that's a major one for me, sir.
Robin, I have a couple of questions from that I want to have some conversation around. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in here with Robin and Neal Oates on the Big Life podcast. So you mentioned that we have a purpose and the
Yeah.
things that we're doing today.
Yeah.
How challenging is it even for you, and I'm asking coming from a place of conviction myself, how challenging is it for you to make today count if you don't have a purpose or a reason to believe that today even matters?
Yeah, I agree. Like I think you can find meaning. So I think the key there is to find meaning. So you can find if you don't know your purpose, you can still have a reason why you're doing what you're doing. And then we would encourage you to continue to search for and try to discover what your purpose is. There are things out there, actually tools out there now that can actually help you. Like assessments that can actually help you to find your purpose. But one that Neal and I uses, and Neal, if you have anything to add to this, please do. We can serve our listeners with this. This is short little thing here. I think three things for you to think about as you consider what your purpose is. What are you passionate about? So consider your heart, like what moves you, right? Here's what makes you think, what makes you laugh, what makes you cry, right? What moves you? Those are good indicators. So think about your passion. What are you passionate about? And then the other one is, what are you good at? What are your skill sets? What strengths do you have? Or maybe it's the experiences that you've had that now cause you to have that unique strength because you have gone through something major or something that's over time that creates a tremendous value that you have. What are you good at? What are your strengths? And I think a lot of times if you can put those two together, you'll be able to help discover what your purpose. But if and Neal, before I say what I'm going to say, anything to add to that in terms of discovering your purpose?
No, so first, I think that the first requirement is understanding that you have a purpose. The worst thing that you could do is believe that you do not have one. Now,
Come
you could
on.
say, I don't know what it is yet. That's the
Yeah.
key. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is yet, but
Yeah.
we find what we're looking for. So if you find reasons to support that you don't have a purpose, you're going to find all of these lies, and you might even find facts that will contradict the truth, because the truth is that you have a purpose. You are here on purpose for a person, for a purpose with a purpose. So one, understand that you have a purpose.
Love it.
And then number two, just start seeking, right? So ask, seek, find, right? So if we ask the right questions of the right entity of God, if you ask the right people, if you start seeking, if you start knocking, you're going to find doors going to be open. And so as we talk about making today count, for some of us, we're going to make today count because we're going to say, yes, today matters because I matter, because what I'm doing matters. And so before we go any further, I'm just going to encourage you all to, like, I'm looking here at this book, Robin. It's $10, right? And I think I got this from Barnes and Noble, probably less than that now, with the way technology is. But I just encourage you all to get this Make Today Count by John Maxwell. I think it would be a great place for you to start making today count. So Robin, continue, sir.
Yeah, no, I love that ad. What I was going to say is that, if you don't know your specific purpose, like what we're talking about, just, go for the general, right? The general purpose, the meaning of your life, right? So if you are a parent, if you're a father or a mother, one of your a meaning for you is to raise kids that are good standing citizens in our community, right? That you're raising kids to be adults, right? And if you're a husband or a wife, or if you have a significant other as a partner, your purpose, your meaning is to serve them, right? So just find the general reason. If you're in a business, your purpose is to serve your customers. Your purpose is to provide for your family. Your purpose is to have enough so you can share with others, and so on. So you can find meaning in everything, a lot of things that you do. So the next part of that, Neal, that you and I should talk about today is figuring out what matters the most to you. There's some of those things now, like family, like for Neal and I, our faith, valuing people, like what integrity, like what is important to you? What matters most to you? And those are things that we think you should hone in on, because a lot of times we can get so busy that we miss doing what's
Yeah.
really important.
Now, Robin, you talked about busyness versus importance, and the subtitle to this, Make Today Count, the secret of your success is determined by your daily agenda, right? The secret of your success is determined by your daily agenda. Now, when I say success, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Dr. Maxwell, when he says success, he is not talking about financial success. He is not only talking about success in the workplace or professionally. He's talking about spiritually. He's talking about relationally. He's talking about health wise, and he has his daily dozen. But here's where what I want you all to hear Robin and I talk about when it says the secret of your success is determined by your daily agenda. Right. So if you tell me that, like Robin and I, we say that faith is important to us, right? We want to be successful in our walk of faith, in our families, in our health, in our businesses. Do our daily agendas reveal that, or do they contradict that? And so, Robin, this is where I'm going to pose this to you, because I love to put you in the hot seat first. But I'm going to talk about me, but I'm going to pose it to you. Why do I believe that tomorrow is going to be different when I repeat the same patterns day after day? Right? I think that tomorrow is going to be great. I think that my health is going to improve. I think my business is going to be better. My relationship with my wife is going to be better. But I keep doing the same things today, And I'm looking at this and it says the secret of my success is determined by my daily agenda. So why is it that I would believe that tomorrow is going to be better when I have not done the thing today in my agenda for tomorrow to be better?
Sir, unfortunately, listeners, I'm being transparent with you here. Unfortunately, I don't have to go far to answer that question because there are things in my life where I have allowed things to get put off. I think sometimes it's in the moment that we allow in the moment to where maybe we're not fully present, or we allow the pull of whatever it is that we're in the moment with to right now. We allow the pull of that to take us away from what we really know that we should be focusing on. So I think one of the things is that we don't take the moment serious enough. So the bottom line to that is that we're thinking that we can do it another time, right? In the back of our mind, we're thinking it's not that urgent. We're thinking it's not that there is going to be more time for it
Yeah.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? And so without we I don't want to sound harsh, but I think what happens with that is we accept excuses. I accept excuses. I rationalize why it's okay for me to do something today where it's going to take away from what I really need to be doing. I think also, Neil, it's when we're not intentional enough about it. So when I don't really have my day mapped out, then I tend to allow more things to get in there, right?
Hold on, Robin. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to hear what Robin Lewis is saying here on the Big Life Podcast. The intention is there, right? My heart, my mind, everything says I'm going to do this thing. And Robin is speaking for him, but he's speaking on behalf of Neal too when he says this, because we are kindred spirits who are challenged, who have the same challenges. So you're saying that even with the right intention, that we still have to have the discipline to schedule and protect the time to do these things.
Yeah. I heard our mentor, it was on a podcast, I think, where he shared this, Mark Cole, I'm referring to, where he talked about that in his quiet time, where he sort of grounds himself and really focuses. I know he does his thinking time, his prayer time, his reading time. This type time in the morning is when he does it, and he's wanting to focus. One of the things that he does with that time, Neil, is he has a book. It's not necessarily his journal. He has a notebook with him there where he can quickly write down something that he needs to attend to another time. But in order for him to not get distracted, what he's determined to do is to write it down so that he can come back to it another time and then make sure that he focuses on that. So even in that focused time that he's taking, which is going to help him make the most of the day, even in that time, he acknowledged that there can be distractions that take you away from focusing. But that time is so important that to prevent the distractions from taking place, he has a place. He's very intentional about writing them down. Just as an example, Neil, that's
Uh,
real. That's
and so
good advice.
that's what I love about the Big Life Podcast, about our mentors, about those who are living this thing out, is that they are practitioners, that they are not simply theorists and saying, well, I read this somewhere, but I have no personal experience. Rafa and I are experiencing this in real time, whether it's AC issues, whether it's mangoes, 9 or 1,000, right? Either side of that. But now here's where I want to go,
And
Robin.
that's but Neil, just before you go, well, no, don't lose that thought.
I won't. Go ahead. Keep going.
It's exactly a great example of what you're talking about. It's very easy to allow those things, the challenges that we have, to get us to get off of what it is that we have set out to do that day. What you are displaying to me and our listeners today is that you have chosen to not allow that. It doesn't mean you don't have them. I think that's what I want our listeners to hear. That's what Robin needs to hear, to remember. That's what I'm after. That what I'm after is setting my day, and then you use the word discipline, a discipline in myself, honoring the borders that I have set, and honoring the things that are important in my life, and not allowing anything to get in the way of that. and you're displaying that. So, sir, I just wanted to add that in there real quick. I hope you didn't forget what you were going to say.
I did not, because you actually lead right into what I was going to ask the listeners today. And that is, well, Robin, you can answer this on our behalf if you like, but the question is, how much of your daily life is shaped before you even leave the house simply by your attitude and thinking, right? We know it's an overwhelming majority. Now, my question is your daily life being shaped positively or negatively before you leave the house, or if you do like I do and work from home, based on positive attitude and thinking or negative attitude and thinking? Now, here's the wild part. We've had 2 ACs go down in our home, and that's what Robin was talking about. So it's going to be costly repair, okay, or replacement. But that did not get me down. Right. What got me down was having to pick up mangoes in the backyard. And so something as small as my attitude and my thinking over an inconvenience, a few mangoes dropping and iguanas eating the mangoes, versus the challenge of AC repair. Right. And so you would look and say, well, Neal, that's silly. But it's shaped by my attitude and my thinking about this thing, right? And so that's what I really want you all to hear, that as we continue to talk about make today count, I believe that it starts in our head and in our hearts, right?
So,
Today
Neal, let's
is going
talk
to count.
about
Go
that.
ahead.
Let's talk about that for a little bit, because I think that is so major. I couldn't agree with you more. And the times where I really and Neal, you said something, but it may have just kind of, I don't want it to just go past our listeners very quickly, right? In the morning, I think I heard you say you get to choose and determine what your attitude is going to be for the day.
Yes,
That's before anything else has happened.
absolutely.
That's one of the ways that you and I, you, our listeners, make today count, is by choosing your attitude. There's a saying that attitude isn't the only thing, but it's the main thing, right? It's not, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. That's real. That's
Yeah,
real. 10% what happens to you and 90%. So how do you make today count? You face today, approach today with a positive attitude, because it's going to give you the biggest possibility for your day to work out the best, no matter what comes your way.
yeah,
Right, Neal? And we
absolutely.
said that in the morning. If we are waiting for, here's the point that I want to say, and I'm going to turn it back to you. I want our listeners to hear this. If we are waiting for, like how we feel, if we're waiting for what happens today to determine what our attitude is going to be for the day, then we're already going to be behind the 8 ball. So that's something, Neal, that I think, I love that you said that we get to choose that. And the time to choose that is first thing in the morning.
Absolutely. Now, I know that this episode could go on forever, ladies and gentlemen. You all can realize that Robin and I, we love Dr. Maxwell. We love his works. We love the idea of making today count. But Robin, here's where I want to go, because we talk about the daily agenda. We know that we live and die by our daily agenda, by our planning, our thought process, how we set up our days or our weeks.
Yeah.
And so I want to know your opinion, ladies and gentlemen. The thoughts and views of Robin Lewis are not necessarily, no, I'm just kidding. And I'm throwing this out here because you're going to see me holding a mirror up to myself as I pose this question to you. What does it look like to treat today as a gift instead of a burden? And before you answer that, because I sit here and I think about how trivial and how, I'm going to say, silly it is for me to look at my orange gold burden, right? The mangoes. But what does it look like to treat today as a gift instead of a burden? And I think of the inconveniences that I have and how small they are compared to the day, like October 23rd, 2013, right? 13 years ago, when I'm no longer here. And then I'm hoping and wishing and praying and pleading and begging for another day. And then to have a day and to dismiss a day. Right? So what does that look like to treat today as a gift and to really make today count?
Yeah, I don't know if I can mirror you, sir, because I haven't been in that sort of life or death type situation that you have been. And so I'd love to hear your perspective. Oftentimes you do help me with that. Actually, you remind me that, like if I say something and you're like, Rob, when are you going to do that? What did you say you were going to do? And when are you going to do it? And you remind me that I have the tendency to think that, like I'm going to be here tomorrow. Right. But I'm not. I don't know that is what I mean. That sounded like I'm not going to be here
Hey,
tomorrow.
they're like, hold on, what plans do Robin have? No, Robin does not know, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
not what I meant.
He's not saying bye, peace, I'm
Yeah.
out of here. No, that's
Like
not what he's saying.
like, come on. There's still more to be done, Lord. Please, please. But the point is that I don't know. That's your point to me is I don't, something, Neil, I'm going to pause for a moment because I really feel like I'm going to not do anywhere near what you would do with answering that question. I'm being honest when I say that to you because
Okay.
of your experience.
So here's the one thing I will say. For me, what it looks like to treat today as a gift is that I treat most of my days, an overwhelming majority of my days, I treat it like the greatest gift I've ever received. And so when you have a great gift, you tell everybody about it, right? And you want people to experience the joy of the gift that you receive. So that's why a day like today, I will still get on and I'll share with you. But then I'm like, hey, it's better than the alternative, right? I know what the alternative is. It's not good, right? And so for me, it also allows me to not take myself so serious, right? And so for me, what I've learned is the joy and the freedom of, yes, taking life seriously, but don't take it too serious has allowed me to show up in a way where people say, this guy really enjoys what he's doing, right? I'm walking through, and now it really has encouraged me. It didn't force me because I had a decision to make. Do I really go after what I want in life and make the most of every moment? Or do I just squander this second chance that I have? And so I really do weigh my priorities. That's why it takes a lot for me to say yes to something that takes me away from my passion, my calling, my wife, my son, my friends. And we've made poor business decisions because they were good life decisions, right? Things that people would say, well, you know what? You left a lot of money on the table. I'm like, oh, I had money and I was gone. Right? My son was 5 years old and no longer had a dad. Right. And so I think that for me, that's what it means to treat today as a gift instead of a burden. But then also, the other side of that is that if I am not careful, Robin and ladies and gentlemen, I can try to do too much today because the gift has become the burden. I start thinking fearfully. I start thinking with a limited mindset and think, well, maybe I used up my last tomorrow. Maybe I used up my last today. And then I go from being a good steward to now trying to be the king, to being the master, being the one in charge. And if I'm not careful, well, first, I'm going to encourage you all to make the most out of life, but don't try to do God's job. Right. And so that is always the struggle. Robin, that's one of the prayers that I ask you to pray for me specifically all the time. Make sure I'm obedient, but not controlling. Right. Do everything that I said or that God has me to do, but don't do any bit of his job or don't try to do his job. So one, joy, not taking yourself too seriously, and then sharing just the excitement to be here. And so my dad was 60 years old when I was born. And so I grew up around all these old sayings, right? He says, it's always better to see the stem than the root, right? And so I'm like, okay. And I didn't understand that, right? And so now, after going through some experiences in life, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. All right, we want to see the green and not the brown. Roger that. Any time on the top side is better than any time on the other side. I'm like, okay, got you, Dad. And so I understand that. So for me, making the most of it and understanding that this really is a gift, that it really is something to be cherished. And we're not saying that today is easy for anyone. We're not saying that today is a cakewalk, but it could be a lot worse. So that's what I have.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, sir. And I think that's one of the things that what you just said. I'm gonna build on is that it's not a cakewalk. What we are saying, not just that it's not a cakewalk. What we are saying is that it's hard, and so making today count is not easy, right? And because it means taking Sometimes it means doing the uncomfortable, right? Neil, some of the things that keep me back from moving forward is the fact that I'm not ready. The fact that I'm stretching myself and, making today count might mean stepping into something new, stepping into a role or a task or whatever, just fill in the blank for you. I'm stepping into something that because the best at it yet, because it's new, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. Maybe it means stepping into something that where I've messed up, right? And I need to try and fix that or learn from it and so on. It's hard. And I think sometimes that's what keeps us from making today count is that, we're hard and so we hesitate to step into the outside of the comfort zone.
Yeah. Robin, on that, I know for me, one of my greatest challenges has been just looking at the size of today. Right, I just underestimate the size of today in relation to all of my yesterdays or my anticipated tomorrows, because I look at it as, for instance, for me, it's only 24 hours out of 44 years of life. How much difference can 24 hours make? But it's been 44 years of 24 hours. Right. And so I think that's the piece that we look at how small and minute a day is, how small today is, not understanding that today is just that seed. Right. Today is the seed. Are we going to put the seed in the ground? Are we going to water it, cover it? Right. Or are we just going to keep it in our hand and say, well, I'll plant it tomorrow? And there have been way too many of me waiting to plant until tomorrow. There's a lot more than I would love to admit, right? And so I think that's where I've had to ask the question, is my daily agenda today building the tomorrow and the next week and next month? So hear us clearly. That does not mean you all go and live it up today and set your hair on fire and say, you know what? They said make today count, so we're going to make today really count. We're going to blow the account. No, that is not what Robin and I are saying. We're saying be intentional. Let's take some of the steps. Let's do what's necessary, even if it is scary, so that we can make today count and live the way that our Father in heaven would be proud of. And Robin, I just want to say this. At the end of the day, I know how you have your reflection times and moments, days, weeks. That's one of the things that I want to look back at on a daily basis. I'm asking myself, would the master say, well done, my good and faithful servant? And I don't want to wait for a week or a month or a quarter to do that check-in. Right? Would he say, well done today? Like today, regardless, despite all the challenges you had, you gave it heck today, right? You put up a good fight. You did everything you could do. You made someone's life better. And I just believe that if you can answer like, well done, my good and faithful servant, you did your thing today, I think it's a good day, Rob.
Yeah. Right on to that. And I think if you do enough of those days like that, that's when you have a beautiful life, right?
Absolutely.
If you do enough todays well, that's what you're saying. If you do enough todays well, then you can look back at a beautiful, fulfilling life that you have lived. Neil, I'm smiling because I'm seeing my grandson now. It's kind of funny how, because I want to, it's just so relatable to what we're talking about. He's starting to talk now. So he can't really some of the words he can't really pronounce well. It's funny, my daughter and him, my grandson, called last night, and I was on the pickleball court, and so I couldn't get the call, and so they left a message for me, a video message, and he is saying, "So, I'm sorry I missed you. I know you're playing pickleball and I know you're playing," and she gives it to him to say pickle and okay, tell Papa good night, it's night night or something like that he tries to say. My point in saying it to you is that I was sharing with somebody the other day that it might be 2 months down the road that he's going to be speaking fluently.
Yeah.
Fluently might not be the right word, but he's going to be able to have a conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you and I are saying, Neil, is that it's the one word every day. It's the words and then what he does is he repeats what you say. So, the other day, my son-in-law was making a video as they were walking, and he looked into the camera and he said, me. me, right? So he knows how me and what that means now as he saw his face in the, but it's a little bit of that every day that will lead to him being able to now have conversations with everybody. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about making today count. It is a daily agenda. It's figuring out what it is that we want, first of all. For him at his age, everything is growth, right? We were talking about him crawling and walking and running and climbing, and now he's talking. And though, it is all a learning thing for him right now at this stage of life. And for us, for you, our listener, it's for you and I to figure out what matters the most and making sure that it's showing up in our daily agenda. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Robin, that is fantastic stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, too much content in this small, very small, easily digestible book here for us to cover it all. But we hope that we have either introduced Make Today Count by John C. Maxwell to you, or we've reintroduced it, maybe giving you some different perspective, different viewpoints. Robin, before I get us out of here, is there anything you want to say to our listeners and viewers today, sir?
Yeah, I want to get to the end and just tell you that I love you. Like it's so good to be here with you today. I'm glad to know Neal Oates Jr. and to have the relationship that we have. And we hope we are serving you, and we'd love to hear from you. So whenever you get the chance, please write a comment on whatever platform you're on, and please share this with others. We appreciate you tuning in and look forward to seeing you again here next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robin just said that he loves you. I am going to ask you all, if you want to know, or if you're questioning how can you make today really count, share love with someone, because there's enough love in the world to go around, but enough love is not going around, right? So if you really want to make today count, tell someone that you know, tell someone that you love, audibly, verbally say, I love you. See the response they get or you get back from them. And to them, it might be the best day of their life. So we want to remind you that we love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time that we see you or you see us, we're right there with you. Peace.
Peace.